This is the Collecting Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Purse, here with your co-host, Bill Hamill.
I'm somewhat more comfortable collecting real estate than I am collecting other stuff.
This is the Collecting Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Purse, here with your co-host, Bill Hamill. Today we interviewed Francesca Apostolou from Niveau Partners. Unfortunately, my Wi-Fi cut out, so Bill had to carry the conversation for probably the second half of the episode. I entered back into the studio, and they were doing such a good job going back and forth. I didn't want to interrupt, so you're going to hear a lot of Bill and Francesca going back and forth, but a lot of great value in this episode. Francesca's a member of Jake and Gino, MIH Mastermind. She's a host of a meetup, general partner, limited partner. A lot going on. Bill, what'd you think?
Francesca's a great friend. We love Francesca, Jim, and Sean Goodwin, along with the rest of the White Plains gang. I am excited about getting to know them more and more over time.
Yeah, you presented at their meetup. I went to their July meetup with you for the first time, and definitely a group that's doing great things, giving back to the community, providing value. Bill, I know you're starting a demolition project this week. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, that was a fun discussion before the episode. And yes, it is a 4,000 square foot office to 2 luxury apartment conversions. And right after we hang up with each other here, we're heading down to Albany, check out that new listing that me and you have in that beautiful Center Square neighborhood. And I just have to walk 2 blocks, meet the contractor, and see how we'll see. 5 or 6 guys are demolishing walls and drop ceilings. What I need to focus on is at the end of this demo job, now we have this wide open canvas, 4,000 square foot, and get that ultimate clarity on how we're going to build these 2 apartments.
I might have to join you on that walk over after we meet at the new listing. I like giving a little insight here into what Bill and I are focusing on instead of just focusing on the interview, so people can get an idea episode by episode what our focus is as we drive around the Capital District of New York every single day, going to different listings and properties, figuring out what our to-do list is. We're getting close to 100 episodes here. Bill and I will have to plan something special for that number 100. But thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. It's a great episode with Francesca today. If you do enjoy the show, give us a like, a subscribe, a review on Apple Podcasts, and check us out on social media and YouTube.
Bring your hard hat.
Francesca Apostolou here from Niveau Partners. Thank you for being here this morning. Also a member of Jake and Gino, MIH, the host of the Movers and Shakers meetup. How did you get into real estate?
Thank you so much for having me, guys. So a way my husband and I got into real estate was we became accidental landlords back in, I want to say 2009. We had a place in Florida that we bought for rental for vacation, and it ended up being a rental property after a couple of years having it. So we became accidental landlords, and so we noticed that we could create passive income through it, and so that's how we got started. That was our first rental property.
That's awesome. Where you got into a short-term rental, did you utilize that for yourselves for a lot and then use that as an Airbnb, which we know them now?
Yeah, so we used it for ourselves for a little bit, and then our kids were getting a little older, so they were getting busy and we couldn't make it there as often. So we decided, let's rent it. And so we rented it annually. And, there's always snowbirds that want to go down there. And so it worked out. And we noticed that it was creating passive income for us. And so we wanted to learn, how can we do that at a larger scale? Because, we're both W-2 workers, and we both are at the height of our careers. And so we are like tapped out of our salaries. So it was like, inflation was going on, every year, and we never really saw more of a salary. So it was like, how can we create more income for ourselves? And so that was a way to do it, but we wanted to do it more. And so we educated ourselves. We joined a group, Jake and Gino, to learn how to go bigger. And here we are. So our first type of investment was at a large in a large portfolio and a large multifamily was as an LP. So we learned how to be a limited partner. So those of you out there that are listening, because the educator in me likes to let people know what that is. An LP is a limited partner where you can invest alongside others in a syndication. And so, which is a large multifamily. There's someone that finds the deal, and then they need investors that can help bring the deal to close. And so we did that, and it was great. And we were getting, passive income through that, and making our money work for us. So that was one way we got started. And as we learned and we networked, because I think that's the most important part, is finding a great network of people that you can, that you like and trust. And so when we networked, we started to meet new people, and we JV'd on a few deals. And what that means is joint venture, which we're active investors in. And then we went on to also GP, where we could help our friends and family get involved in multifamily and invest alongside of us.
Great to see the progression there from being accidental landlords to finding out about larger multifamily and realizing that it can really change your life. And thank you for sharing some of the definitions there. There's so many terms that we use, like syndications and LPs, but it can be a little overwhelming if you're new to the space. Before we go into that larger multifamily, I have to ask, 2009 purchase in Florida, was this right after the prices dipped?
No, actually, we purchased it in 2007. It was a brand new build. And so we had to wait until 2006 was when we purchased it. We went into contract with it. Didn't close till 2007. Used it for a bit. 2008, the dip happened, and then we were like, okay, we need to do something. So that's when in 2009 we decided, let's rent it, and so that's how that worked. But we bought before the dip.
Good for you for holding on to it. I heard 2009. I was thinking, oh, at least it wasn't 2007, but sounds like it might have been. Yeah. I know your son is attending University of Tampa. That's where I went to school. Was it also in that Tampa market?
No, it was actually in the Boynton Beach market, which is right outside of West Palm Beach and near Delray Beach. Okay. Yeah. But Tampa market's great.
Oh, yeah. Phil can talk more about that.
Yeah. We love that Tampa market. And we talked about that a little bit, Francesca. I know that you have some assets in North Carolina and you're excited about them. Does the Tampa market intrigue you, excite you to get involved down there at some point?
I love the Tampa market. It's, as you know, it's not easy to get into, but my son, just as a rental, when he was renting, I saw what the properties were getting as far as a rental was concerned, and it was amazing. The amounts you can get, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful area. Lots going on. I love it there. My son loves it there. He's hoping when he's done to even stay there. So I would love to get involved in the Tampa market. It's just basically trying to find that right deal.
It's hard to leave after you've been there for a little while. And it's funny you say that you see the prices as a renter, because that's really where I got interested in real estate, because I was renting these houses and I was seeing the prices that owners were paying and then the prices that we were paying, thinking, wow, they're making a profit and paying down equity. And then seeing all the development going around that city and just the long-term growth that's going to happen over the next couple of decades.
Oh, yes, 100%. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Great market. Love it.
Francesca, as an educator, and I know I've watched you on different podcasts and probably just different Zooms where you explained that you brought the financial education into your school. How has that gone for you?
That's going well. I decided, my principal asked who would like to start a club. And so I was thinking to myself, I love real estate, but I also love financial education. And I think it's something that children are not learning. Um, they're not learning at all, as a matter of fact. And so it's like, why not start them young, regardless, just to give them ideas of types of what it means to be financially educated and to understand money. It's so important in our society. We're so credit card driven and so shiny object driven that I wanted to help children understand that. So, Jake and Gino came up with a great program, personal finance program. And as a mother as well, that, I see my kids going to college, and they didn't learn that financial education in high school nor in college, that I felt it was important for me to get down to their level and kind of teach them also. So I decided to start a club at school, and it's after school, and it's great. Children are learning, like, what it means to have, what it means to have credit card rewards when you do get a credit card, what it means to keep a good credit score, what it means to create passive income in real estate, just like simple things that you're not learning in school, and how to make your money work for you, right? And I think there's a great book that Gino talks about, and it's called The Richest Man in Babylon. So we even go into that, like, make money, save a 10%, 20% of your earnings, utilize that savings to create passive income for yourself, have an emergency fund, like all these steps that we think, everyone would know, but it's something that has to be taught. So, yeah.
You're so right about it not being taught enough, especially early on. We could get really deep into that with public schools and a need for a labor force, but we'll stick to real estate. And I was shocked once I learned more about investing with little or no money with Bill, that I wasn't taught that even in college with an entrepreneurship, focus. It's just not out there readily enough. But sticking to that focus of being an educator and networking with people, it seems like those are two things that you're really big on. You're the host of the Movers and Shakers meetup. Has that been a way for you to educate others and grow your own network as well?
100%. When I started the meetup, it was because I myself was looking for a meetup that had to do with multifamily, and I couldn't find it in my area in Westchester, New York. So what other way of sharing the knowledge that I have gained through the great networks that we're part of, and start our own. So that's when my co-host Sean Goodwin and myself decided, we met at an event rather, and we both wanted to start a meetup. So we said, hey, like, there's a need, so let's do this. And we have a great network of people that can teach others. And there's nothing better than being in a room with like-minded people. That it just energizes me. So, and motivates me. So there's a little bit of selfishness in there too, that I get a great feeling of motivation when I'm around people that are like-minded.
I'm glad you brought up Sean. Sean's a great friend of ours. He's interested in investing in the capital region. That's where Steve and I reside and invest. And I think we all go to these meetups or host these meetups for a selfish reason. The people that are coming, they want to learn. And we're hosting these because we want to teach and network and basically feed off of each other. That's what it comes down to. Not only joining masterminds and groups like Jake and Gino. Your husband, Jim, I know he's involved in Niveau also. What is his role with the partnership?
Yeah, so he is great because he's in the construction aspect of it. So when we visit properties, like, he's good at seeing all the, I guess, things that are wrong or that are good on the property, that's going well on the property. So he brings in his construction aspect of it, but he's also great at networking. I have to say, he's sometimes he thinks he's a little introvert, but at the same time, once he does get comfortable, like he doesn't stop. And he's just got a great personality. I have to say his likability. So he's great at networking as well.
Yeah, you're both great at networking. It was a pleasure meeting you this summer, and here we are now because of your ability to network. Tell us more about one of these deals that you've gotten into, either as a limited partner or a general partner. I want to hear some of the details.
Yeah. So one property we just visited, we visited two properties like last week in North Carolina. One in particular that we just closed on in March of 2022 is a 15-unit townhome complex, all townhomes, 2 bedroom, 1.5 bath. Um, Really nice looking, 1,100 square feet. And so basically what we're doing, we bought it with, I want to say it was an average of like 650 rents. And so when we bought it, we underwrote it as an average of 895 rents. And so when we purchased it, we decided we had to renovate 5 units, and of the five, we're now achieving 1,250 rent. So we really we went in, we renovated, we painted, we changed flooring, we put new vanity in, put hardware in the kitchen, and it looks great. They have a little patio in the back, which is really nice, with a little bit of a yard. So yeah, so we're achieving one of them we're achieving 1,250. So 1,195 though for most of them.
We love that rent growth and that rent continuing to climb nationwide. And those townhomes, throughout my career, I always loved those townhomes because they're still a bit scarce. We're also used to just renting apartments, and the competition from your neighboring apartments is always there. But when we're listing townhomes for rent, it really catches a lot of the market because they're not readily available. What I found in my townhouse community that we recently purchased was, what's that sweet spot? Fortunately, no matter what we do, it's going to work. And meaning the average rents are 1,050, 1,100, and we have completely remodeled a few apartments and got the max rent, in our case 1,800, but we have to spend $20,000 to $25,000 to do that. And we're also experimenting with, instead of doing the full remodels, we do partial remodels and then get 1,600, and then do that real estate math to say, why overbuild if we don't have to? Did you and your partners have a similar discussion with your townhouse community?
Yeah, so we didn't want to over renovate. So what we did was we went in and if the kitchen cabinets are good, we kept them, and we just put hardware. If the bathroom cabinets were doing well, then we did the same thing. But in some, we did need to change the cabinets out. So that's what we did as well. We definitely didn't want to over renovate. But there was discussions on possibly doing some more renovations depending on what the cabinets are looking like as well, and the unit itself.
And the great part is that it's all numbers in these commercial assets, and you have to almost put the ego aside sometimes when it's your own, because you want it to look nice, you want your property to look good, but you really should be focusing on the numbers. We recently had Logan Rankin on the show, and he described having a small turnover, a medium turnover, and a large turnover process. And they know what the numbers are going to be for these turnovers. So then they can analyze what that projected rent will be and calculate the ROI on each turnover. And that's the way a professional is going to do it. They're going to get the numbers and see what has the best ROI. They're not going to get emotional about what the color cabinets are like you would on your personal home, because these are commercial assets. You are primarily investing in North Carolina for syndications. Is there a reason you picked that market? Are you looking other places? Tell us about why North Carolina and what your future plans are.
So North Carolina is where we're joint ventured and we're active investors there. Our syndications are in other parts of the country.
Okay.
But I do love North Carolina. There is population. Sorry. Yeah. There's population growth. There's job growth. it just seems like, we put something on the market and it goes. So it's definitely a place that we look at the criteria of what we can achieve. So we love the population and job growth, and that's happening there.
That's great. Getting back to your children and that movers and shakers meetup, I know that how many have I been to? I think I've been to 2 of your meetups, and at least one of your kids was at each one.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that they're going to the University of Tampa, how much are they soaking in on the passive investor side? I'm saying passive investor side now because I'm sharing some stuff with Sean Goodwin,
Mm-hmm.
and he pointed out to me, because I always like to say limited partners, he said, Bill, maybe you can use the word passive investors more because it seems more friendly. And do they understand the passive investment side and the benefits and that passive aspect
I love
along
that
with
you asked that.
that?
Yeah.
Do they differentiate, and how much are they soaking in based on what you're teaching them?
Well, I love that you asked that question. I have my daughter has been there as well. She's at the University of South Carolina. And the 2 of them, one thing about my kids, and we've taught them this, is that you work, you save your money. You work, you save your money, right? And so you want to have some gratification as well, but at the same time, save it, and then you can invest it. So what they're doing is they worked and saved, and now they're investing alongside of us. So just this past week, when we drove my daughter down to college, she came with us actually, and she saw the properties that she's invested in. She's also collecting passive income from it. And so they see it go straight into their bank account. And it's like, this is great, And so we were teaching them the process. And there's nothing better than hands-on. And so they came to the property. Well, she came to the property. My son didn't because he was on his way to Tampa. And she just, was like, this is amazing. She actually had lunch with our property managers. And so it's just that hands-on experience. So they are, in a sense, like I'm getting them involved as feeling that passive income. But now let's put the action, let's see what it looks like. And so taking them to the property, having a sit down with the property manager, seeing where you need to maybe renovate or, whatever it may be that has to go in the day-to-day of multifamily. She saw that last week. So yeah, little by little, we're getting them involved.
So important to teach the young kids, specifically your children, to be responsible. Getting that first credit card, because it really sets the tone for those next few years. As a landlord renting apartments in my 20s, and so many kids, I feel like it's more than half would want to rent an apartment and then explain to me how it's almost normal. It should be accepted where, well, yeah, I was young. I got that credit card. I didn't know any better, and I screwed up my credit, and here they are. Where, geez, I just think it's so underemphasized, the importance of not only that fresh beginning, but you're teaching your kids the benefits to actually investing passively and actively. Have you been able, knowing that you're an educator and you probably have the pension, 401k, that type of thing, you been able to utilize some of the 401k to invest in your deals, or any other creative ways to utilize other asset classes to invest?
That's a great question. So back in 2020, we were able to tap into our 401k, which is for teachers, it's 403b. So, as a teacher, you're taught, as an educator, you're taught, put money into your 403b, max it out as much as you can. And you work as hard as you can for your, to get that pension, right? So it's like, I didn't want to, when I saw what happened in 2008, my portfolio dropped 40%. And I did not like that feeling. And it was like, what if this happens to me when I am of retirement age. What am I going to do? So in 2020, we were allowed to take some money from because it was because of the COVID, take some from your 403b or 401k. So I did. I took advantage of that, and I invested in a great deal. And so that deal is doing so fantastic that we should be cash out reflying pretty soon. And that's the beauty of real estate. It's like if you could buy it right, why not utilize something like that? And so that's what I did. I utilized it in 2020.
No, that's great. And explain a little bit further. You're able to utilize that asset class to get into that deal.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're able to refi that deal and get tax-free money. Now what? Explain what you want to do now as we continue on.
Yeah. So we're going to soon enough cash out refi, and so get our 100% of our money back. So which is so beautiful, we won't have any money in the deal, and so we're just going to be getting money without even without having our money in there. So now I could utilize that money that we cash out refi, and what am I going to do? I'm going to go invest in another deal. So I'm getting paid from this one that has nothing in it, right? And now I'm going to be investing in another one, and I'm going to get paid from this one. And then hopefully eventually, now that's called the snowball effect, and hopefully eventually that one will cash out refi. So I had just taken that 403 money and invested in multiple deals. So that's the plan.
No, we love that. And that's what we really try to emphasize as other people are looking for this type of education in real estate, is that snowball effect that you just described. Once you get into that first, has to be a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
We look at it where we have to be able to get that deal that has some rental growth or some operating efficiencies that we can take advantage of and force that quick value. And then do that refi when it calls for, get that tax-free refi money and get into that next deal.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to, not only, I know you're educating the students at your school, have you had a lot of discussion with your peers, the other school teachers, the educators, administrators that may want to get into some of your deals in the future as passive investors?
Yes, and I have some of the teachers that have invested with us and will be investing with us. So it's one thing that they don't talk about in the teacher's room or at school in the conference room. That's not something we talk about, right? So when I find something that works for me, I love to share it with others, and so that's exactly what I do and tell them what I'm doing. And so I had a few teachers invest alongside us as well.
No, that's great. So when I'm dealing with a similar thing. I do invest locally, so I'm very active in the capital region of New York, even as an asset manager, construction manager type. But I love that Tampa, Tennessee market where I've been able to be a general partner there as well by raising a little bit of money, also being on bank loans, providing as much value as I can to be a important member of any general partnership team. What else do you and Jim focus on, knowing that you're investing in North Carolina and hopefully in some other areas other than raising money? What other buckets do you guys fill where you're able to get into your next deals?
So we also have a whole life insurance as well that we fill. We fill that bucket as much as we can, because eventually we want to be able to utilize that to get into other real estate deals. So yeah, we just find different asset classes that we can, and whether it's saving our money or investing our money. So those are the two ways. I'm not really a big stock person. I did that, got burned too many times that it's not for me. So I realized that in order to create a legacy and generational wealth, um, for me, it's real estate.
No, that's great. So you just brought up another way to get into deals. So you now have a whole life policy
Mm-hmm.
that you are investing into other deals. So before you talked about your retirement program with as a teacher, and now you're talking about a whole life policy. How does that work?
Yeah, so basically, I kind of put a kibosh. I didn't kind of, I did. I put a kibosh on my 403B. I was like, you're not working for me. So I took what I was putting in there and took the proceeds that I was putting in there and putting it into my life, a whole life. And so with that, I'm able to borrow against it. So as I build up, as I put money into it and I build it up, I'm able to borrow against it. So I'm being my own banker. So once I borrow against it, I can buy real estate, right? And then I pay myself back, and I'm paying myself back with interest, which instead of doing it with a bank where I'm paying them back, I'm giving it to myself. So that's the beauty of whole life, being able to borrow against your own money and paying yourself back, being your own banker.
No, that's great. It's taking advantage of an opportunity. Unfortunately, something as unfortunate as COVID did create opportunities for some. They opened it up for business growth, great interest rates, you to be able to utilize that retirement program as a teacher, which that was an exception, correct? That wasn't something that you would have been able to do without penalty in the past.
You can't, and yeah, even today, you can't do it without penalty. So, I mean, you can't get away from the taxes for sure, but yeah, the penalty is something that you're stuck. You're stuck in there. So that's another reason why it's like, okay, I am stuck until I'm going to be 59 and a half years old in something like a 403B or 401k. I just didn't feel like, I felt like it was bondage. So in order to have more control, that's when I learned about, see, and this is all stuff that I've learned throughout the years of educating myself on financial education and being a part of a great group of people and networking with them, that you learn about this stuff. I've never heard of it before. Because again, we only know two things as teachers, pension and 403B. So now that I understand this, it's like, I don't have to be in bondage. I can actually put my money somewhere and utilize it and tap into it. That's to me is freedom. So that's what I was looking for, financial freedom, and that's freedom. Yeah.
So that is expired. We're not able to take advantage of that opportunity any further. You were able to take advantage of it and get into a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're utilizing your whole life to get into other deals.
Yes.
And I appreciate you utilizing all of your resources to get into these real estate opportunities. Are you part of a real estate team down in North Carolina, or are you just going transaction by transaction? But I guess on a high level, what's next for Niveau?
So we are part of a team. It is transaction to transaction. It just seems like we're still part of the same team. So yeah, I would love to find more there. It's about networking and finding the right deal. So actively, I would love to grow in that area, to have everything in one area. But as I want to say, as a general partner, wherever the numbers make sense, wherever the area makes sense. So, and of course, with the right team of people that we would get our friends and family involved. So that's another thing we're doing now. We're actually ready to close on 108 unit in Central America, not Central America.
Whoa.
The mid, not Central America. I'm sorry, in the Midwest, center of America.
Okay, all right, 108 unit. That's unbelievable. Tell us more about that deal. What's that all about?
Yeah, that's a beautiful deal. It's 108 unit. that we are general partners on. And so we're getting our friends and family involved in that. And it's right next to a medical center. We're down the block from a medical center. It also has mostly 2 beds, 2 bath with washer dryers, just beautiful balconies, just a very beautiful property and a very solid one that our investors will be receiving 7% preferred return on. And they're, it's a good solid building, B class, and it's a double, they'll double their money in 7 years, so that 2 times multiplier as well.
Excellent. Does it have that rent growth, massive value, operating efficiencies? What's it look like from your average rents to what you're expecting in your underwriting?
Yeah, so it definitely, there's rent growth. I mean, we're looking at 250 plus in rent growth per apartment. So that's going to be huge. The household median income is $75,000, which is amazing. It also, what else? The population growth is there. It's like I said, it's down the block from a medical center. So we have nurses that live on property. We have also students, like residents that live on property. So, we plan on trying to get more of them on the property as well. So yeah, so it's a great solid property, and we're excited. We're excited for our investors as well.
No, we love scaling up. So you get a $250 rent growth on a 2-family. It's fantastic. 4-family, it's great. But what I like the listeners to really understand, when you're able to increase your rent $250 on 108 units, that's going to just massively increase that net operating income, forcing major value, setting us up for that refi. Mm-hmm. We get that refi, as we talked about earlier, and it's tax-free, and you roll that into your next deal. Mm-hmm. Francesca, knowing that you and Jim are longtime New Yorkers, are you investing in New York? Do you plan to stay in New York? Or what's your future plans?
We are not investing in New York. Our future plans are to hopefully move to Florida one day as soon as we can. I do love New York. It's just very expensive to live here. It's expensive to even buy here. So that's why we're not investing here. I know you do, and you do fantastic in the capital region. But yeah, we're looking elsewhere. So, cause we want to plant our roots elsewhere. So, and for our children as well. I don't personally see a future for them here in Westchester. It's just so expensive. It's so hard to live here. So I'm hoping that we can all, transplant somewhere like Florida, Tampa, maybe.
Yeah, and we've talked about this in the past, us New Yorkers and people, investors nationwide that are not interested in New York one way or another because it has such a bad vibe as far as being too expensive in the New York City area. Mm-hmm. And it's so highly regulated, making a lopsided relationship as far as tenant-landlord rights. Mm-hmm. Francesca, this is the Collecting Real Estate podcast. They say you have to have 3 of something to make a collection. So we have 3 questions for you to wrap this up. In about 5 words, what is the most important thing you've learned since you started collecting real estate?
Something that I've learned is multifamily investing is a team sport.
There you go. Awesome. And we hear that all the time. When we're buying large apartment communities, it's almost unrealistic for the average person like you and me to do it on our own. Mm-hmm. Question number 2, what are your 1 to 2 year personal goals?
So I want to talk about my 1-year goal, which I surpassed, which is pretty amazing. I believe in creating a vision for yourself, a vision board for yourself, and creating your goals annually. So at the end of last year, I created my goals for this year, for 2022. And one of the things that I said was, in my business, I will close on 20 plus units by March of 2022. So interestingly enough, we have closed on 15 units in March of 2022. In April, we closed on 72 units, and we are working on 108 units to close at the end of probably beginning of September. So I surpassed that 1 year plan or that 1 year goal. So it's like, and I know you spoke at my meetup in January of this year, and it's all about you get what you focus on, right? So it's like if you could stay that path and stay focused on what you want, amazingly enough, it will come to pass. But you need to really put the work in. So yeah. So I have to say I'm a little proud of myself and my husband for surpassing our 1 year goal.
No, that's fantastic. You create goals and you focus on them and you get what you focus on. There's a lot to say about that. It sounds easy, but with a laser focus, you will get that. What else is on that vision board? Is there anything, a personal goal on that vision board?
Yeah, that's a great question. So another thing was back in 2020, I was sitting on Zoom all the time at teaching and just meetups and everything, and I was turning to mush. So a personal goal of mine was to get to the gym and work out, and didn't think I could do this, but in end of January, I started doing weight training, and I love it. So I have surpassed that goal as well. I've seen a difference, and it's just things that you put on your vision board that you have to try to accomplish. It's like keeping myself accountable. And so that's something that I did too. So that was my personal goal.
Yeah, I was going to point that out. It's being accountable to ourselves, staring at that vision board and seeing something that we wrote on that 3, 4, 5 months ago, seeing that if we're not doing it, it's up to us to reflect and be accountable to ourselves. Last question for you. How can we and the listeners assist you, and how do we contact you?
Listen, I love to network. So if you want to reach out to me, I would love to network on Zoom or even come to our meetup. We would love to grow our meetup with like-minded people it's in Harrison, New York. It's called Movers and Shakers. Our next meetup is September 7th. And it's at 6:30 in Harrison, New York. If you want to follow us on Movers and Shakers Multifamily Network on Facebook, that's where we post all of our meetups, our future meetups, or on meetup.com. We have our own group there, Movers and Shakers. So, I just love to network. I love to help others. So if you want to reach out to me, you can do so. You can go on our website. It's niveaupartners.com. NIVEAU partners.com. And I have a Calendly link there that you could, just put it in there and we could hop on Zoom and just network. Or you could even come to our meetup and we can meet there.
Yeah, it's a fantastic meetup. Stephen went for his first time last month. I'd been there a couple times. I really appreciate you inviting me back in January to present at that meetup. Mm-hmm. Maybe Stephen, I think you might be on that list, aren't you?
Yeah, I think I am for next June. I apologize. I got disconnected there. My Wi-Fi cut out. But yeah, I spoke with Sean, and I think next June I'll be presenting.
That's awesome. That's great. Yes. We love to have anyone that can add value. Absolutely.
And we agree wholeheartedly that this networking, not only just going to an event or two, it's consistently going to these events, getting on Zooms, joining masterminds, and meeting people over and over and over again to deepen these relationships. So it's been great to get to know you more and more, and we appreciate having you on the Collecting Real Estate Show.
I thank you guys. It's a great conversation, and I thank you both for having me.